Hello, Kenneth.
How are you?
Well, it's such an honor to be here with you, to see you, and to hear you. And you have so many people here to support this endeavor this afternoon. It's so great to see you.
Oh, it's so great to see. It's great to be seen in all of this mess. I'm glad I'm amongst the living. And hello to everybody out there. I'm glad you're here.
I think the last time that I saw you in the flesh was last year when you appeared here in Washington under the auspices of the Color of Music Festival in the Mozart Requiem.
Yes,
And I remember the soprano was Marsha Thompson and tenor Chauncey Packer.
yes.
And the mezzo was Lucia Bradford, and so that was such a wonderful time to hear you. As you just mentioned, this is a crazy time, but I'm glad we were able to spread a little joy in the crazy time. Talk to me about the effect of COVID-19 on your schedule.
My goodness, it wiped that thing out. It
Oh,
out. When I tell you, I had gotten home from being on tour with the American Spiritual Ensemble, and I left the tour early because the rest of my calendar was going to pick up and I needed a moment. And Dr. McCorvey was gracious to let me leave early. And I got home and I did a recital 4 days later, and it was the last thing I sang.
wow.
It
Oh,
was
my goodness.
so everything I had from March through August was wiped out.
That is the sad reality for so many people in the performing arts and just in the whole um, society period. I mean, this is a really rough time. But I want to turn our attention to a bright light in this whole thing. First of all, as I mentioned in your bio, you were raised in Philadelphia. Of course, you know Philadelphia has a rich musical heritage, including the lady from Philadelphia herself, contralto Mary Anderson. And then you have the whole gamut of people there, the great Karen Slack, and
Yes,
you have
indeed.
the great Simpson legacy with Evelyn Simpson Curitan and Marietta Simpson and Eric
Yeah.
Owens. So you're holding up a high banner of musical excellence. Talk about what Philadelphia meant for you, just in your musical nurturing.
Listen, Philadelphia is it's such a huge blessing to be from a city with such great legacies from Florence Quivar and Marian Anderson and Wilhelmina Fernandez and Leah
Yeah.
Hawke and Izakaya Savage, like for real. So anytime I sing, I always feel like those eyes are on me, and you better represent and not mess up Philly. So try to keep the standards high because I know Miss Anderson is watching and I need to make her proud.
Speaking of Miss Anderson, I want to bring up. There's a wonderful documentary, if I'm not mistaken, that PBS is about to come out with her on, and that's so exciting. And then you all, of course, have the historic Mary Anderson site there. Miss Jillian, if I'm not mistaken, runs that and has held that legacy high. But I want to take a little transition because I know everybody is tuning in for this special broadcast on this conversation, special conversation series, where I reached out to you and you were so gracious because I want to celebrate one of our musical forms that sometimes doesn't get the platform that it needs to get, and that is the African American art song, and also even the concertized spiritual. So, Kiddo, you have a recording called "Been in the Storm So Long," which is a mixture of the spirituals and the art songs. What inspired you to pursue the African American art song in particular?
In particular, because it was underrepresented. And I just felt that at the time, when Dr. Everett McCorvey, who produced the project, he said, come to me with a proposal for what you want to do, and we'll do it. And I thought about it and I prayed about it. And I said, the world does not need another German song cycle CD at the moment.
Mhm.
And as much as I love that music and will sing it forever and ever, I felt that it was the right time to celebrate the composers that look like me because I've been blessed with a platform where people listen to me sing and come to recitals and concerts. And so to put their music on those programs and give them that platform was going to be the greatest joy, and it has turned out to be.
I want to take a moment and play one of the beautiful art songs featured on your recording. It's called Since You've Been Away, and it's by
Oh,
H. Leslie Adams. And the wonderful thing about this is Mr. Adams is still living, and I
yes.
hope that we will continue to celebrate these great figures, while they're here. And I want to play this, and I hope that it's audible for all of the listeners. Kenneth, I may
Yes,
have
sir.
to revisit. I think we've had a little this little sound issue again. I've been informed that the sound didn't come through.
Ah,
But just meanwhile, while I'm fixing our sound clip, I was so again thankful for you for the fact that you sent the wonderful notes that were written by Dr. Roger George, who is an exceptionally gifted tenor. And I just want to share with the audience as I try to find this clip that we can do it in another way. Um, Roderick noted in his notes, he says, for more than a century, African American composers have written in Western classical style, yet the works of these musicians are frequently neglected by all but a few performers and scholars. Oftentimes, the totality of a singer's acquaintance with art song literature by African American composers is limited to spiritual arrangements. This yields the unfortunate impression that the contributions of African American composers to classical art song literature is severely limited. This alone gives reason and merit to the inclusion of songs from the African American art song repertoire on this recording and promotes the study and performance of these songs in hopes that they will perform regular components among standard vocal literature. So, Kenneth, what has been your reception, or rather, what has been the reception of your audiences when you program these songs?
listen, it's such an interesting reception because depending on the audience, most of them have not heard these songs before. And so I get a lot of people in the receiving line like, oh, wow, that was so beautiful, or I didn't know that that was written and I'd never heard it before. And what made you choose this song? And oh, I can't wait to go and research it and give it to my students or sing it myself. And so it's been a
Mhm.
wonderful sort of reception and exploration for myself and for audiences alike. It's been great.
Thank you. Now, of course, we cannot have a conversation about African American art song or Black art song without mentioning Dr. Willis Patterson. I remember when I was a student at Virginia State, which there is a connection there also with Dr. Patterson. But I remember you had the one folio of African American art songs, the anthology rather, and now, since then, several other folios have come out. Do you remember what was the first African American art song that you sang?
I believe it was Prayer by Leslie Adams.
Oh,
Yeah.
so therefore, I hope I can get my little setup here to act up. not act up, it is acting up. That's what's happening. It's acting up. I'm
Listen,
going to
we're
see,
in this
can I
new
do
age of
this in another fashion? You know, the devil will not get the glory in this moment.
no, sir. Leslie Adams is amazing. He's probably one of my favorites of any color composer because
Mm.
he just sets the text so beautifully for the voice to sing. It just it does what voices naturally want to do, and the piano parts are amazing. And that's my friend Kevin Miller on piano on this whole CD project. Amazing pianist. Just love him.
Oh, he is. We love Kevin here in Washington, especially with his work with Washington National Opera.
Yes.
And you all, thank you all for your patience and bear with me. I think we're going to be on the right track in a minute. We're gonna, I just shared with people, doing these online presentations is certainly more than a notion, but we are going to get it together today.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, and just why I have a couple of connections that I want to make. I was so honored to meet Leslie Adams a few years, well, a little more than a few years ago now, at the African American Art Song Alliance Conference, where I was a presenter. And I definitely want to shout out to Dr. Darrell Taylor, who has done such sterling work in this area of African American art song. Um,
Absolutely.
and so I think we're almost ready. I think we're almost ready here.
Daryl V. Taylor is one of the pioneers. He is just doing such great work out there in Irvine, and I'm so proud of him. And I listen to his Leslie Adams recordings all the time. Just
All right, so I think we might be on the right track here. So we're going to share the computer sound. We're going to share. We're going to share. Okay.
oh
To
look at
my people live on Facebook, let me know whether you hear this. I'm about to push play. Forgive the ad. Okay, so we're still not having the sound.
going right since you went away.
Okay, so the sound. So I'm not going to go back because now the sound is up. Thank you all for your patience and helping me. Okay, so the sound has gone away again. We're going to get this thing together just yet. Let me see. Oh my, the sound went away when you sang away. Oh my goodness.
Since you like to me, the sky ain't half so blue. Seems like to me that everything wants you. Seems like to me I don't know what to do. Since you went away, since you went away. Everything is wrong. The day's just twice as long. The birds forgot his song since you went away. Since you went away.
Oh, how beautiful. I'm almost scared to go off of this page because we finally got the sound working. So, of course, this is one of, I would say, one of H. Leslie Adams' most treasured um, pieces. So, when you sing a work like that with such a probing text, what is the first thing you do to really make that a part of yourself?
I definitely make it personal. And that's one of the things that makes that particular song very difficult to sing at times, because I was asked to sing it at a memorial service for a dear friend by his family, and that was very, very hard. And my friend Angela Owens also made a video out of that recording, me sort of paying homage to all of the African American male pioneers that have come before me. And so I think about them and this legacy and this torch that they've handed that's so heavy sometimes, but I definitely make it personal.
Speaking of pioneers, could you maybe share with the listeners, both on Blog Talk Radio and on Facebook, um, the impact that Mr. George Shirley has had
Um,
on your life and career?
he is one of the most amazing human beings I have had the honor to be in the presence of, the honor to share the stage with, um, and just to be around. He's so encouraging and kind and generous. And I mean, he's sung everywhere that needs to be sung, but, but you can talk to him like a friend, like an uncle, like a father, I mean, he's just so approachable and so kind. And he teaches me by his example, his example of excellence, his example of elegance and kindness and generosity. So I love that man with everything in my being. I got to meet him uh, right now, I think 22 years ago in Austria. He was singing the role of Sport and Life for the first time at the Bregenz Festival. And it was my first time in Europe. I was a kid. And he was so kind to me and took me under his wing and gave me wonderful advice and has been there ever since. So I adore that man.
Oh my goodness. Would you like to speak to the followers about your well, I can kind of lead. So as you all know, there's a wonderful vocal competition named for Mr. George Shirley at the University of Michigan. And of course, you also may have seen because of COVID-19, not only has this been affected, but also other uh, artistic endeavors. So, Kenneth, would you like to make an appeal to the listeners and the followers about the vocal competition?
Yes. So I have to say first, thank you to you for your original idea. So what you all don't know out there in the social media world is that when Patrick asked me to do this Facebook Live with him and to play some tracks from my CD, he originally wanted it to be sort of a fundraiser for me because he knows that artists all over the world are suffering and we can't do what we do. And I thought that that was so kind and so generous. And when I hung up the phone with him, something just hit me. And like 5 minutes later, I called him back and I said, listen, I don't want any money for myself. I said, God is going to take care of me. And I have food in my fridge and my rent, listen, God's going to take care of it. So I want to give back to a young singer and help them on their way because I knew that that was probably the right thing to do. And so I called my buddy, the Robert Sims. He is so fabulous, one of the greatest interpreters of the spiritual and one of the greatest human beings I've ever met and had a chance to work with. I said, brother, how can I find the right organization to be able to give back? And he mentioned a few, and the one that jumped off the page was the George Shirley Vocal Competition. And so instead of any donations or money coming to me, they're going to go to the Kenneth Overton Award for the best performance of an African American art song by a living composer at the very next George Shirley Vocal Competition in 2021, May 21st through the 23rd. And so I am so happy and honored and to be able to give back in this way. So anything that you all donate, I will match and see to it that at least $1,000 is awarded to a deserving up and coming vocal student.
That is so wonderful. And so, if you all want to make a donation to the George Shirley Vocal Competition, if you would go to, and it's all one word, and forgive me if I um, haven't typed it, but it's georgeshirleycompetition.org. It's one word. So it's georgeshirleycompetition.org. And you can go to the website and there's a donate button. And if you have any issues with the donate button, you can also contact them at the email that's provided. But I also must pay homage to Dr. Louise Toppin, who I absolutely adore, and her work with the Damus. Just an advocate and someone who definitely pushes this art form, and particularly music of African American composers. So shout out to, and I must say, my hometown Petersburg girl, Dr. Louise Toppin.
Yes, I was
Um,
on the phone with Louise yesterday for a couple of hours, actually, talking about this very thing. And so, for all of you singers out there, young, old, middle, and otherwise, she has one of the most amazing resources for African American art song that exists anywhere and everywhere. And you can find this at the website African Diaspora Music Project, all one word, African Diaspora Music Project.org. And there she has compiled every existing composer of African American descent, all of
oh
their
my
birth,
goodness.
where and when they were published, who the poets were, and how you can get this music. So please support that organization as well. And so there is no excuse to not know how to find the music of African American composers. There's no excuse. She has done this work. She's continuing to do this work, and she's in the process of adding where you can find recordings of all of these songs as well. So, AfricanDiasporaMusicProject.org. Please go.
Thank you so much. Now I want to make the Chicago connection because you mentioned Robert Sims, and I got a chance to meet. Gosh, Robert Sims actually sang a recital in Petersburg many years ago, and I actually reviewed the concert when I didn't even know that I was gonna, be a reviewer. But I want to make that connection with Robert Sims because if I'm not mistaken, you got to sing in the footsteps of a great operatic luminary in Three Generations. Talk about Three Generations, and I'll let you tell it.
I hope I can tell it without crying because it's such a special thing. Actually, that's one of the other times I got to share the stage with George Shirley. But originally, it was William Warfield, Benjamin Matthews, and Robert Sims. Now, that's already a knockout lineup. And Mr. Warfield had taken ill, and Robert called me and said, we want you to sing his track in the concert. And I was like, what you talking about, Willis? Are you serious? And so I got the music in the mail. That's back when we snail mailed things. I got the mail, and there was these amazing original arrangements done by Jacqueline B. Hairston, done by the Lena McLean, that were written specifically for this concert, for those three men. And to see on the manuscript William Warfield's name and Ben Matthews' name, and it was like, you want me to sing what? Are you kidding? And so I did a few concerts with them in his stead. Huge shoes to even try and fill. Like my foot just drowned in those shoes. Just amazing. But and then George Shirley came in and did a performance with us, and he sang "Oh Freedom," and he sang before me in this concert. And I said, I know y'all don't expect me to go out there and sing after that. But he just knows how to take the stage and set it on fire, just like Ben Matthews. Ben Matthews, if you all don't know the legend of the late, great Benjamin Matthews, you need to do some research and find out. This man taught me how to sing spirituals. He and Wayne Sanders, as you know, are the founders of Opera Ebony, the longest running African American opera company in the country. But he was a true pioneer and advocate for the spiritual and taught me everything that I know about them. So yeah, Three Generations opened up a whole lot for me, a whole lot.
Wow. I want to stop for a moment because you have a nice following on here, and I want to make sure that I give some shout outs on here. Your people are supporting this effort.
Hey
Um,
y'all.
hello to Charlotte Dorian Small, Cheryl Hill, Sheikah Good, Rashad Simmons, David Eccles, Damian Jeter. Looking forward to Damian's Requiem. Deirdre Robinson, Stephen Holmes, Karen Slack, Adam Richardson, Gwendolyn Brown, Kim Marshall, Eric Kong, Damian Sneed, Dr. Jay Jordan, Edwin Jamal Davis. Let's see, Adrian Dunn, Karen. Oh, that's a Chicago connection there. Adrian Dunn, Janet Jarrell, Miss Euraline Watson, Sherry Duke. Hey, Sherry Duke. I know Sherry Duke. Iris Fairfax, Dante Davis, Laquita Mitchell, and the list goes on and on. I'll try to get the rest. Oh, yeah,
Wow.
you got some people here. So since we made that Chicago connection, of course, with Robert Sims, but you also hearkened to, my goodness, the great Lena McLean. And so hopefully, since I've mastered this little thing, I hope you all bear with me. I want to try to, even though we're talking about the African American art song, I would love to include, of course, the spiritual arrangements as well, and other pieces from the repertoire. So I want to play this arrangement of Don't You Let Nobody Turn You Around by Leda McLeod. So hopefully this will work this time. I'm going to take my time. We got a little time, so I can take my time with it. And you all, thank you all so much for being with us in this conversation. So we're going to try this time. It says share computer sound. I did that. So for all the people who are doing this stuff, we're doing it by trial and error together. So when you do your vlog, you can master this as well. So I think I see here. We're going to share that. We're going to share that. We're going to. Oh, I hope this works this time. Facebook audience, let me know if you can hear. Okay, so still no sound. We're going to get this together just yet. Okay, still no sound.
Keep the straight and the narrow
Just while I'm trying to
way
get this straight,
at
Kenneth,
the
they're saying that
river of
your
Jordan.
photo is wonderful and want to
Baptism
know who the
was
photographer was.
at hand, and John baptized the multitude for the same sinner man. Don't you let nobody turn you around, turn you around, turn you around. Don't you let
All right,
nobody turn you
let's
around.
just
Keep
start
the
this over now. Thank you all for your patience. Play Kevin Miller.
Don't you let nobody turn you around, turn you around, turn you around. Don't you let nobody turn you around. Keep the straight and the narrow way. Don't you let nobody turn you around, turn you around, turn you around. Don't you let nobody turn you around. Keep the straight and the narrow way. At the river of Jordan, baptism was at hand, and John baptized the multitude for to save the sinner man. Don't you let nobody turn you around, turn you around, turn you around. Don't you let nobody turn you around. Keep the straight and the narrow way. Now some may come by water, and some may come by land. But when we get to heaven, we will shake each other's hand. Don't you let nobody turn you around, turn you around. Don't you let nobody turn you around. Keep the straight and the narrow way. Keep the straight and the narrow way. Keep the straight and the narrow way. Keep the straight and the narrow way.
Bravo! I'm so nervous to switch off. If you all don't mind, I'm just gonna go ahead and keep this screen up for a little while so I don't have to keep struggling with the sound. Kenneth, for
Yes.
those people putting together or attempting to put together a recording project, could you maybe talk about uh, the effort that's involved with that?
Oh my God. When I tell you that recording is one of the most difficult aspects of being a singer ever. It is an understatement. When I tell you, Kevin Miller knows, baby, we did 2 sessions of like 4 or 5 days each time. And when I was done with each of those 4 or 5 days, I was wiped out. Wiped out. It is such a difficult discipline because those microphones, they pick up every little shady inconsistency in the voice. It's unforgiving. Oh, am I singing again?
Uh-oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. You were talking about the shady microphone picking up
Yes,
everything.
those microphones pick up everything, every little
Case in
thing.
point.
And so Kevin and I, it was painstaking at times. There were some songs we did and we did it in one take and we got it. And then there were some songs where it was like, you know what, if I sing this one more time, but praise the Lord for the technology that we have where they can dice and slice and nip and tuck. So I would normally just sing it all the way through once, and then we would go back and record different sections, and I would take a take from section 1 and then a take from section 4, and my amazing recording engineer David Henderson would splice it all together. And then the hardest part for me actually was when it was done, giving the approval for, okay, I really like this whole take, let's go with it. And you just have to, treat it like a child that you're sending off for a first day of school. You just have to let it go and release it to the universe. So
Mhm.
it was rewarding. It was tiring, but I'm so glad that we did it. And we actually had like 3 more songs that didn't make it onto the CD because I just couldn't wrap my mind around getting a great take. So I'm just gonna have to do another one.
Talk to me a little bit about it's so much to pick from, and that you gave me and as a wealth of material. But one of the songs that you may all, and I want to apologize for the little sound hiccup just now, but talk to us about Genius Child, this
Oh,
wonderful Langston Hughes text, because I'm going to play this for the listeners.
first of all, Kevin Miller plays the fool out of everything, but that genius child, those fingers set fire to those keys. I said, come on now. But actually, it was Dr. Roderick George who suggested Genius Child to me because I was like, I need something up tempo, something with some fire. Because we can get in our singer world and wallow in slow songs all the time.
Mhm.
But what attracted me to it was the text by Langston Hughes. And I wanted to talk about the poetry of our pioneers as well, like Zora Neale Hurston and Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Mhm.
These poets and their words are screaming to be sung. And so this one jumped off the page at me, just like Prayer by Leslie Adams, which is also Langston Hughes poetry, and Since You Went Away was James Weldon Johnson poetry. Just if I don't feel moved by it, it's more difficult for me to wrap my chords around it to sing, or it
Mhm.
takes me longer to learn it. So the stuff that I choose to sing, you better believe is because I am immediately and instinctively attracted to the text first and then the melody. Now, when I was younger, it was you could probably reverse it. I was attracted to pretty melodies and pretty songs, but I feel like I need to say something else with the text through the singing.
Wow. I want to take a little detour because Robert Anthony Mack just joined the live.
Robert,
And with that being said, just to step away from the art song, and in particular the African American art song right now, since Robert Anthony Mack is on here, could you maybe talk about the pioneer work that you two are doing together with Opera Noir New York?
baby, can I tell you, can you see the gray in my beard that's growing out? When I tell you. So listen, Robert and I and another colleague of ours, Baron Coleman, started Opera Noir out of the living room of Opera Ebony. We were in the home of Ben Matthews and Wayne Sanders. And I was there singing on a master class that Ben Matthews was giving. And PBS was shooting the master class as sort of a documentary about Ben's life. And after the class, the audience was mingling around, and Wayne said to us, he said, we're getting up in years, and, the younger folks are just going to have to pick up and carry it on. And so Barron and Robert and I looked at each other and was like, what should we do? And so we literally just got out our phones and called our friends. And we started having monthly meetings in their home. And we would invite industry professionals that we were working with at the time: stage directors, conductors, Martina Arroyo, Hilda Harris, Harolyn Blackwell, Maestro Willie Anthony Waters. All these people would come and give freely of their time and expertise. And each time we had a meeting, the room grew and grew in population with these gorgeous brown, Black faces. And we said to each other, we have to do a show. There's just too much talent in this room to not sing. And so pre-Facebook and Instagram, we printed up tickets, rented a church, got 20 of our friends, and put together a gala. And then during the gala, we honored some of those pioneers that I mentioned. And then it was packed. It was packed out. We had no idea that it was going to be received that way. And so everybody was like, so when's the next one? And we were like, what you talking about? And then it has sort of bloomed and blossomed into now not only a performance organization, but people come to Robert and I to book artists of color because they can't seem to find them any other way, which is very strange to me. But the number of emails and calls that we get about trying to find African-American singers is it's outrageous. And we're fine with being that resource for people, but I just want to let people know, the same way you find any other artist, you can find Black artists. So Opera Noir is doing wonderful things. It's gotten bigger and more expansive than we ever thought it was going to be. But it is a labor of love, and it has caused me to have some gray hairs that I did not expect.
When you mentioned Harolyn Blackwell, if I'm not mistaken, did you all had a master class that you all featured her in?
She did a master class for us, I think maybe more than once. And then she graced us and blessed us with a performance. We produced a concert of all of the music of Ricky Ian Gordon, with all of Langston Hughes' text. And she came and she performed a couple of numbers with Ricky Ian Gordon at the piano. This woman is an angel. She's an angel. She is a star. That voice is glorious. Her spirit, her heart, gigantic. Love Harolyn Blackwell. Love her.
The reason I brought her up because it made me think about the fact that Ricky Ian Gordon setting of Genius Child, and so we're going to have this contrasting setting
Yes.
right now. So I'm going to play that as we wrap up our time together. This has been wonderful. So this is Genius Child, and this wonderful text by Langston Hughes. I'm going to play this and stop talking. You know what? Let me go back.
This is the song for the G.
Let me go back because I don't want to cheat that magnificent piano accompaniment by Kevin Miller.
He's
So
dead.
So let's do this again.
This is the song for the genius child. Sing it softly, for the song is wild. Sing it softly as ever you can, lest the song gets out of hand. Nobody loves a genius child. Nobody loves a genius child. Can you love an eagle, tame or wild? Can you love an eagle, wild or tame? Can you love a kill him, and let his soul run
Oh my God.
Listen, and trying to record that old beast, when I tell you, oh,
Oh my goodness.
and there were times when Kevin would just, that intro and then the postlude, he would just be over there, and I would just have to sit to the side and wait till he was done working it out. But that song, ooh, thank you to Roger George for bringing that song to my eyes. Such a good piece.
Listen, I would be remiss if I did not talk about, I alluded to some of your operatic and oratorio and recital performances in the beginning, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring up something because you've been featured on some wonderful projects. Could you maybe talk about the whole idea or the opportunity you had to work on the Passion of Yeshua
Oh,
and talk about that recording and what that has meant to you?
listen, the Passion of Yeshua came to me through a friend named Janelle McCoy, who used to be the executive director at the Oregon Bach Festival. And she and I were friends and singing colleagues. And she left singing for arts administration. And she called me and she said, "Hey, do you mind if I give Richard Danielpour your phone number? There's a piece that he's writing, and I think you would be great for it." And I was like, "Sure, thanks," and you never think that, things will materialize like that. Well, an hour later, Richard Danielpour was on my phone, and I was like, uh, I looked down at my phone and the caller ID said Richard Danielpour. I was like, "Are you serious?" And so we talked for about an hour, and he said, "Listen, I have already investigated you and listened to your recording." And he said, "I want the person that sings this role to be a man of faith.
Mm,
I don't want it just to be somebody who's doing it for another job." And that really moved me. And he took me to lunch in New York and brought the score. And originally, he wanted me to sing the role of the narrator. And he said, "But after meeting you and listening to you, you have to sing the role of Yeshua." And he said, "I want the world to know that first, Yeshua does not look like he's from Stockholm, Sweden.
mm,
And I want people to know." And I think that your heart is what is going to carry this piece through. So I premiered it, the world premiere in Oregon, with the amazing Joanne Falletta conducting. And then we did it in Los Angeles. And then we did it again with the Buffalo Philharmonic where we recorded it. And it just came out last month in the middle of this pandemic. And I'm so proud of it. My sister Janae Bridges is on it with me, and she sounds so glorious as she sings the role of my mother, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and she sings in Hebrew, and it's just stunning. So go out and get that recording if you can. But I also want to mention that we have to support our living composers that are doing the darn thing. Damian Sneed out there writing fabulous, amazing spiritual arrangements. The spiritual sketches that he did for Larry Brownlee, outrageous. The opera that he did about Marian Anderson, outrageous. And all the stuff that he is doing, y'all make sure y'all support him. And Damian Jeter, I don't know what it is about the name Damian, but these boys are doing it. But Damian Jeter has written an amazing work entitled The African American Requiem, which is going to get its premiere in January of 2021. It was supposed to be this month, actually, probably a week and a half from now originally. But sadly, due to Miss Rona and her nasty, disrespectful behind, we had to, to cancel it. And sadly, I won't be able to do the premiere after all because the dates moved around. But Damien and I have come to a meeting of the hearts, and I will get to sing it eventually. But we have to support our living artists and young composers out there because they're doing amazing work.
And certainly in that vein, we definitely want to also celebrate composer Anthony Davis, who just
Oh,
won the Pulitzer Prize just phenomenal. And it's so wonderful that our works are being recognized in this way. And as it pertains to Damon Jeter, I'm so excited about his African American Requiem. And he's also, he's from a town called Ettrick, Virginia, which is near
Oh,
me and my hometown. And I got to see him in Porgy and Bess at the Met.
yes,
So
me too.
so that was wonderful. But just as we wrap up our time together, it was so interesting that we had that vignette set about the music of Richard Danielpour. You have a lot of Danielpour connections on here, particularly with Margaret Garner.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I see my girl Miss Angela Brown
Hey,
is
Miss
on here.
Brown. Miss Brown, Miss Scylla. Come on, Angela.
You have a lot of people out here. You have the great Nicole Houston Lane on here, and
Hey,
of course, I
sis.
mentioned Karen Slack and Robert Sims. I just want to speak to everyone that who is on here because Kenneth hearkened to this also. We definitely have to support our artists, and we definitely, as you can see, this time that we're in, quarantine and things of that nature, is giving us a time to really sit down and focus on our projects and create our own platforms. I was truly moved when Kiddo spoke about the fact that this, opera noir New York started out in the living room of Wayne Sanders, and that living room is amazing. All of that artwork on the wall. Oh my God! I had the honor of being there when I was there in New York to hear Miss Battle sing her triumphant Carnegie Hall recital many years ago. So it was wonderful to be in that space and to know that opera Noir New York got its birth in that wonderful setting. That is amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So, Kiddo, I just want to say again, thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with us. God bless you. And I want to know, is there any final remarks that you would like to say to the listeners in terms of creating a platform for works, again, by African American composers?
Yes, you have to program these things when you have the opportunity to sing in public. You just have to. I personally feel like it is my responsibility to my elders, to my ancestors, to the legacy, to the culture, to use my platform to sing their music and bring it to the masses. Um, we have to do it, or else they're going to be sitting in a box in somebody's basement, unsung. They're going to be sitting in somebody's big old library, and you can only see the scores through a pane of glass. And that is not why they wrote this music. They wrote it to be sung, and they wrote it to reach the masses and to touch people and to move people. So we have to use every opportunity, just like we sing Mozart, Puccini, Verdi, Strauss, and all the rest. These composers are brilliant, but we have brilliant ones right here. And when I tell you the music of Florence Price, her symphonic stuff, absolutely amazing. The Harry T. Burleigh Foundation, that's run by Marty Newland and Lynn Foote, they presented Florence Price's Violin Concerto No. 2. When I tell you that piece can rival any Rachmaninoff symphony, and it should be programmed at every orchestra, not only in America, but across the world. But our leaders and our arts administrators have to be brave enough and bold enough to program it and bring it to our listeners. Audiences are not dumb. Audiences are hungry for greatness. They're hungry for new voices, new music, new sounds, and we have to give it to them, or else classical music will die. But as an artist of color, as a Black man, it is my responsibility to sing the music of my people every chance that I get. And I want y'all to hold me to that, and I want you to hold yourselves to that, and I want you to hold all the people that hire you to that spirituals and songs by Black composers will be on your concerts, will be in your programs, and not just on the programs, but on the printed page. Don't save,
Mm.
don't save your spirituals for the encores, because everybody's not Lean Team Price that's going to sing non-encores after recital. They may not get to your encores. Put them on the printed page right next to Schubert and Schumann's name. You need to see Price and Bonds and Adams and Hailstork. You need to see all of that. Make the difference yourself.
You all heard it. Yes, we need to hear and see all of that. Everybody who knows me know that I can talk a mile a minute. But when you were speaking, it was something that came to mind that I want to ask you because I want to know, what does it feel like to sing for an African American conductor?
Oh, um, it's different. It's just like for me, it's different singing with a female conductor. It
Ooh.
it it's different. Um, there's a connection there. There's an understanding there, as well as there's an understanding. I have an African American voice teacher, and it's the first African American voice teacher that I've had in my entire life. And I've had about maybe 8 teachers in my life, um, but this is the first time that I've had a Black teacher. His name is Gregory Lamar. And
Yeah.
one of the biggest reasons why I believe that things are going so well for me is because of the work that he and I do. He understands the voice and my voice. And he
Mm.
doesn't try to put some technique that works for somebody else onto me. He goes in and figures out how this mechanism works. And I've never had that with the teacher. I've always had them with them trying to instill just what they know and put it on me. But he took the
Mm.
time out before we sang a note with each other to figure out what he could offer, what I had to give. He made me vocalize myself in front of him to see what I was doing. And I never had that before. And it's the same thing with a Black conductor. And it's the same thing with a female conductor. When I got to work with Joanne Paletta and Barbara Day Turner and the Jane Glover, it was
Mm.
just a different energy, a different feel. Not better or worse, just different. And I loved it. I loved it. And we should have more of it. We need to have more brown people on those podiums waving those batons. We need to have more of them in behind the table making casting decisions and in the boardrooms. We need to have that. Audiences will come to see the show not only when there's people on the stage that look like them, but when there's people behind the stage making decisions on their behalf. We got to fix it. We got to fix it.
That is so true. Again, thank you, Kenneth, so much for joining us for the conversation series on Across the Arts. Again, this is Patrick D. McCoy. Please, I ask you all to please consider making a donation to the George Shirley Vocal Competition,
Yeah.
and I hope that you will tune in for future installments of the conversation series. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and Kenneth, our gratitude to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Such a pleasure. Thanks, everybody.